Welcome back to the Creamsicle Chronicle podcast. My name is JT Olson, coming to you in the early parts of the Bucs offseason. Been in free agency for almost a week now. We are Friday. Free agency tampering period started Monday, so we've got almost a full week under our belt. And, I'll be honest, it's been a little doom and gloom around Bucs Nation. Everyone seems to have something to complain about. And I get it. It hasn't all been great. Watching Mike Evans leave Tampa Bay, that's a gut punch. No two ways about it. Someone who said they want to be a Buck for life just walked out the door, signed with the San Francisco 49ers. That's a franchise icon, a Hall of Fame player, a Buccaneer. Going to be playing for the 49ers. That sucks. That absolutely sucks. But that's business. That's the NFL. It's not usually good business to give 33-year-old wide receivers 3-year contracts. That's what the 49ers did. I don't know what the Bucs were willing to offer. Mike Evans' agent said it was a very competitive offer, that they were relentless in the pursuit of Mike Evans. But he chose to walk out the door. He did not want to be in Tampa. And whether that's a result of the direction of the team or the head coach or the quarterback, or he's just following his own ego, we'll never really know. We'll never really know. All we know is he's gone. And if you ask anyone around social media, that means that the 2026 season is now over. It's done. Look forward to 2027. Next 12 months are just waiting, killing time. But, just for the sake of doing it, we can talk about some of the additions this team made, because it has not all been losses. Mike Evans, gone. Jamel Dean, gone. But the Bucs did bring some new players in, and they've kind of indicated a little bit of a new direction with what they want to do. And, it probably won't work because everything is awful. But, at least I can see the plan. I can see the plan, and I don't disagree with it necessarily. I kind of like a lot of the pieces they're bringing in. They started out re-signing Cade Otton, 3-year deal, $10 million a year. It's a good contract. It's rock solid. People are going to complain about Cade Otton because he had 2 plays where he had the ball ripped away from him. Those are his 2 worst plays of his career. And if that's how you're going to judge him, that's how you're going to judge him, I guess. But the other, 2,000 plays of his career, pretty good player. Really solid starter. Now, I'm not going to tell you that this is Brock Bowers or prime Tony Gonzalez, but you're better having him than not. This is someone who's going to add in the blocking game. He's going to make all of the routine catches. He's a pretty sure-handed player with or without gloves. He adds toughness to your offense, something your offense really kind of lacks without him. Cade Otton is a tough player. He does what needs to be done. He does the dirty work. He's a good role player. Everyone should be happy he's back, because if he's not back, who are you starting at tight end? Payne Durham, he's a fringe NFL player. Devin Culp couldn't even get on the field in college, let alone the NFL. So maybe you spend the 15th overall pick on a tight end, and that's your game plan. But then you don't get to spend that pick on a linebacker or a pass rusher. And I know people are going to want that. So bringing Cade Otton back is nothing but good for this offense. It's nothing but good. And there's really nothing to complain about with his contract. Bucs also signed Kenneth Gainwell, a running back, originally out of Memphis. And I remember when he was coming out in the draft, I really thought this is kind of a receiver in a running back's body. And he is a great weapon in the passing game. His routes are great. He's a weapon downfield. He can do the wheel route. He's not just a dump off kind of guy. He is very similar to Bucky Irving. He's quick. He's shifty. He's a weapon in the passing game. A smaller frame. I really thought they'd go with a bigger body back. I really thought they'd bring in a Tyler Algier, a Brian Robinson, a guy who's 220 plus, to get those tough, gritty yards in the red zone, on the goal line, short yardage. They chose not to do that. And I think that's kind of an indication of how they want to run this offense. They want to have a true running back by committee. And they want a well-rounded skill set because they're going to throw the ball to the running back. Bucky Irving, a good pass catcher. Kenneth Gainwell, a good pass catcher. They're going to attack the short and intermediate part of the field with the running back. It's very Liam Cohen style offense, which is what they said they wanted to get back to. So their actions back up their words on the type of team they want to be. Bringing in Kenneth Gainwell, that supports this Liam Cohen, Sean McVay style offense. Honestly, letting Mike Evans go kind of does as well. Because if you watch the Rams, they don't really have a true X. Puka Nacua does a lot of damage in the slot. Cooper Kupp did a lot of damage in the slot. It's not an offense that necessarily features an X receiver. You've got Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, Emeka Ibuka. All of those kind of favor this McVay, Liam Cohen style offense more than Mike Evans does. So letting him walk and bringing in Kenneth Gainwell, bringing back a tight end who can block, all of those indicate that this is the offense that Bucs fans were asking for last year. This is the Liam Cohen style offense. You wanted it. Now you're getting it. And it's not easy to watch Mike Evans walk away, but you got to move forward. The team is moving forward. They can't just sit in neutral. That's despite what fans think. They're competing for a division in 2026. They're competing for a Super Bowl in 2026. And maybe they're not the team they were last year. Maybe they've taken a step backwards and they aren't one of the favorites on paper to win a Super Bowl. But they're not dead either. Now, this is a team that still has a great offensive line. One of the best defensive tackle duos in the NFL. A pair of really good safeties. A deep wide receiver room. A quarterback who, when he is playing well, he plays really well. And we're going to pretend like, the valleys aren't there along with the peaks. But the peaks are good. They're really good. And we saw that in 2024 in this Liam Cohen style offense. An offense that doesn't take a ton of shots downfield because Baker Mayfield isn't good at that. So they're going to get back to that, and hopefully that's going to maximize what Baker Mayfield can do. We've also seen some additions on defense, and they've kind of slowly rolled in. The first one was Alex Anzalone, linebacker, played in Detroit the last few years. He's a really solid player, really well-rounded. He's tough, he's physical, he's smart, he can cover. Anything you can want your linebacker to do, he does it pretty well. Now, I'm not saying he'll be prime Levante David or Fred Warner or Patrick Willis or whoever your Hall of Fame linebacker is. That's not who Alex Anzalone is. He's a step down from that. But he's several steps up from what we've seen in the last few years, whether that's Servassier Dennis or KJ Britt or, frankly, Levante David last year. You can expect Alex Anzalone to be a better player than that. They also signed defensive tackle A'Shawn Robinson, replaced Logan Hall, who signed with the Houston Texans. And I really like that addition. I think A'Shawn Robinson brings a toughness, a meanness to the defensive line. This is a nasty physical player. You talk about attitude and intensity. A'Shawn Robinson embodies that. And he is a good run defender. He is not a Logan Hall type player who was a 5'tech", 6'6", 280 pounds. athlete. That's not who Ashawn Robinson is. He is 6'3". He is 330. Dude is just a brick wall on the defensive line. It's going to improve a run defense that was already top 5 in rushing yards allowed last year. And a little of that smoke and mirrors because it was easier to throw on the Bucs last year. So teams did that. But it's not a terrible run defense to begin with. And adding Ashawn Robinson only makes it better. Adding Alex Anzalone only makes it better. So you're getting tougher. You're getting more physical up the middle. You add some grit and some grime to this team, which I think they need that. They need some grit to them. They need some nastiness to them. Anzalone, Robinson, they both bring that. And then I know everyone was crying for a pass rusher. Oh, they didn't trade for Max Crosby. Oh, they didn't spend $40 million to sign Trey Hendrickson. Oh, ownership hates the fans. Oh, Jason Light's incompetent. Trade 18 first-round picks to sign Micah Parsons. It was never going to happen. And that's okay. That's not how winning teams do business. If you are right on the cusp of a Super Bowl, that's when you can make that splash move. That's when you sign Tom Brady, or you trade for Matthew Stafford, or whatever star player you want. But year to year, you don't see a lot of big trades like that. And when you do, it usually blows up in the team's face. Look at Green Bay last year. Traded 2 first-round picks for Micah Parsons, only for him to get injured at the end of the year. Didn't help him in the playoffs. One and done. Now they don't have a first-round pick this year. They're not going to have a first-round pick next year. And they took a gamble. It didn't pay off because the rest of the roster wasn't close enough to a Super Bowl. That's where the Bucs would have been if they tried to make that trade for Max Crosby, what the Ravens proposed to do for 2 first-round picks. And it would have been exciting, and the defense would have gotten better. But I don't know that it makes you a champion because then you can't afford to pay linebackers. Then you can't draft players with that first overall pick. You have needs on this team. You have to address them. And they've done a decent job of doing that this year. Veterans, role players, really, they have brought in a bunch of well-rounded guys. Locker room presence, what they bring to offense, the defense. There's very little to dislike about the players they've brought in. And then to make all the rest of the fans happy, they did bring in a pass rusher. Everyone can be happy about that. And even if it's not your pass rusher of choice, I know it wasn't mine, he is still a pass rusher. He is a depth player. He is someone who got 11 sacks last year in Al-Quadin Muhammad. I mean, I'm not here to tell you that this is the player that's going to change the tides for the Buccaneers. This is a depth piece. This is your edge 4. At least it should be by the time the season starts. But this is a high-energy hustle player. This is a player who specializes in getting after the quarterback. This is your designated pass rusher on 3rd and long. So when you get into 3rd and 28, someone can actually get to the quarterback. And you don't have to have Kendall Vildor try and hold up in coverage. Al-Quadin Muhammad brings you depth pass rush. And I'll be the first to say I wanted more than that. I wanted someone who could walk in and be a starter. Because now you still have a need to draft a pass rusher, a starting edge. If Al-Quadin Muhammad is your starting edge come week 1, this team's in trouble. You need a Cassius Howell to start over him, or a David Bailey, or whatever pass rusher you like. You got to find someone who's better than Al-Quadin Muhammad to be your starter. Detroit knew that. That's why they didn't re-sign him. But it's better to have him as a pass rusher on your bench than to have Chris Braswell out there and hope that he'll be the answer. So really, the guys they've brought in, these have all been good signings. I'm in favor of all of them. Miles Killebrew, an all-pro special teams guy. You know, he's going to improve your special teams. They brought back Sean Tucker as a depth running back. He's probably the most explosive, the fastest runner on your team. in terms of that running back room. He can get you those tough physical yards. He can play special teams. We saw so often last year, special teams hurt the Buccaneers. We saw basic plays hurt the Buccaneers. People taking a bad angle to the ball. A guy being lined up in the wrong gap and you're gashed for a big run. That shouldn't happen as much this year with guys like Anzalone, guys like Ashawn Robinson. This team is getting better in different ways than what fans asked for, but they're getting better. They're tougher, they're smarter, they're more physical. And it didn't come with the big names. Fans wanted the big names, the Crosbys, the Mike Evans, the Devin Lloyds. I get that. Those are great players. Of course we all want them on our team. But this isn't Madden. You can't just bring in every all-pro player. You have to find the right player for what you're looking for. Bucs wanted to get bigger and tougher up front. They did that. Bucs wanted to bring in a pass-catching running back with a well-rounded skill set. They did that. They wanted to bring in a starting caliber tight end, so they weren't bringing guys off the street to try and start for their tight end job. They did that. They wanted a linebacker who could cover anybody, because I'm not convinced Levante David could have covered me last year. I could beat him on a wheel route. They did that. They found a guy who can come in and be a good, well-rounded starter for them. So frankly, we're all mourning the loss of Mike Evans and Jamel Dean because he was a good player for this team. But that doesn't mean that the Bucs are dead. This has not been a negative offseason. Mike Evans was not on this team most of last year. He was not helping this team win games most of the season. And it sucks to say that because he's a great player. And I think if he were healthy, he would have helped this team a lot. But he wasn't. So it's not like a huge net negative from last year to this year. Mike Evans had less than 400 receiving yards last year. He was injured. So you're not really trying to replace his production this year because you've already replaced it. Emeka Egbuka was your leading receiver last year. He's going to get a bigger role this year. Chris Godwin is back healthy going into this year. Jalen McMillan is back healthy going into this year. Cade Otton is back. Bucky Irving is back. Your offensive line is back. You have enough firepower on offense without Evans. Building up this defense, that's been the bigger priority. And we all understand why. This is a defense that was soft. This is a defense that made basic mental mistakes. This is a defense that could not cover running backs and tight ends. That is changing. Bringing in veterans makes you smarter, more disciplined. Bringing in a linebacker who can cover means you can't just flip it out to the running back for 10 yards, which means the quarterback has to hold on to the ball longer, which gives you more time for the pass rush to get home. This has been, in a lot of ways, a very positive offseason. And I know Bucs fans probably don't want to hear that because everyone's in a bad mood right now. They're down on Todd Bowles. They're down on Baker Mayfield. They're down on Jason Light. They're down on ownership. But in reality, this is still a really good roster. The depth of the offense, the wide receivers, the offensive line, the ball carriers. If quarterback can be average to above average, this is going to be a really good offense. If what the defense does is going to define this 2026 season and Todd Bowles' career. If this defense falls on its face, Todd Bowles will be fired at the end of the season. So they're going to give him the tools he needs to be successful, and they're already doing that. Expect them to draft a pass rusher, expect them to draft a linebacker, expect them to address the defensive line and depth in the secondary. They're retooling the defense. They just have to continue adding to it, and they're off to a good start. You've got a new starter on the defensive line, a new starter in the linebacking room. Those are upgrades on what you had. You're going to bring in more upgrades. So before we start shoveling dirt on the Buccaneers season, let's just continue to sit back and see what they do. Their plan, to me, feels obvious. bringing in good players, raising the floor of this team, improving your toughness, your physicality, your intelligence. Those are things that cost the Bucs games last year. I'd expect that those will all be better this season, and they'll win more games because of it. So I just wanted to pop on quick, go over the offseason. Obviously, there's still a long way to go. We will still be signing free agents. The draft is right around the corner. This roster is not a finished product yet. Do not look at this depth chart and say, oh, Chris Braswell is my starting edge today. Guess what? You're not going to watch a game today. You're not going to watch a game tomorrow. The draft is in 2 months. Mini camps, months away. Preseason, months and months away. I don't care who the starting edge is today. I don't care if Baker Mayfield's laying on a beach picking his nose somewhere. He doesn't have to play football today. What matters is what this roster looks like come the start of the season. So far, we're getting a picture of what it'll look like, but it's not a complete picture yet. You have one of the best general managers in the NFL, Jason Light. He's a great drafter. He's going to continue to bring in good free agents that fit the coach's vision. How will that turn out? We don't know yet. But we know they're building a good roster. They're addressing their weaknesses. Let's just give it a chance. That's all I'm saying. Let's give it a chance. I see the vision, and I'm optimistic about what's to come. That said, call to show. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.